Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 122, here with my always brilliant and beautiful co-host, the Fight Geek. Fight Geek, how you doing today, bro?
Doing excellent, man. Happy to be back talking fights with you. 2022, here we come.
Here we come. All right, guys, so here's a really quick rundown on what's on tap today. First, we've got my opening question for Fight Geek. After that, we are going to do a quick recap and review of UFC Fight Night Calvin Kattar versus Giga Chikadze. After that, preview and picks for UFC 270, and then my favorite section of all, listener questions and more. But Fight Geek, let me start off the episode with this question for you. UFC 272 was just announced. The headliner is Colby Chaos Covington versus Jorge Gamebred Masvidal. Unclear if the BMF title's on the line. Who knows if that's real anymore. But here's the quick, short question I've got for you. Do you love it or do you hate it?
Well,
you can't be in the middle, are you?
Yeah, I'm a little...
Oh, no, you gotta love it or hate it.
Warm on it.
You're okay.
I think what I do like is that the welterweight division keeps moving. Obviously, it's a traditional grudge match, but based on Jorge's kind of downswing and the fact that I think Colby's the number 2 guy in the world, doesn't make the most sense ranking wise, in my opinion.
Yeah, you know what, Fight Geek? Let me rephrase the question really quick because I could have worded that better. Is Covington versus Masvidal as a 5-round fight, is that worthy of being a $75 pay-per-view headliner? Remember, this is now in an age where you can have 5-round non-title fights on a pay-per-view, so I guess I'm insinuating, why wasn't it just a co-main?
Well, I guess the value of it, the card depends on the rest of the card,
sure,
obviously. Do I think that's an elite A-list fight? Yeah, it is. I mean,
but Covington's going to wipe the floor with him, man. That's the thing.
Well, that is the thing. That's what I mean as far as their trajectories being a bit different here.
It's not going to be a good fight.
This fight happens 2 years ago. I think it's a lot more intriguing. I think it's kind of a foregone conclusion at this point. Colby's the younger fighter in his prime and has a style that clearly can give Jorge problems. But, Jorge's slick in some areas. So I think there's a little intrigue, not much in the actual competition. But the grudge match will be an easy sell. Both guys are, must-see UFC TV. So I definitely think it stands up as a main event. Just need to see what the rest of the card looks like.
Okay, so it sounds like you're saying, final answer, yes or no, is it worth the $75 price tag, Covington Masvidal?
Alone? Or
we don't know. We often don't know all of a card prior, but yeah, basically alone.
Am I happy about paying $75 for that headliner?
I think it's a ripoff, bro. That's what I'm getting at.
What?
I don't think it should be a headliner. I don't think it's good enough.
I think it's a great co-main, for sure.
It's a great co-main, absolutely. But
if that's the co-main on,
but it's not a co-main. That's the problem.
Fight, then it's a solid.
See, that's the problem. It's not a co-main, though.
Exactly. So.
Yeah.
At this point, it seems a little thin for a $75 headliner, but I think that's the new normal because that's the new normal, $75 for a pay-per-view. So.
Yeah, it's getting more and more expensive to be an MMA fan by the day.
This week's card is kind of an interesting case because it's actually really top-heavy, and then the bottom of the card is pretty thin, in my opinion. So this card isn't necessarily a $75 card, but the top 2 fights...
The top 2 fights are so good.
Push it over.
They're so good. The top 2 fights are so good. I actually think I would argue this, Fight Geek, really quick, and then we'll move on. Is it fair to say that UFC 270 is so far the most stacked of the first 3 pay-per-views of the year? I'm saying it's more stacked than 271, which is Whitaker Adesanya 2, and that's it. And 272 is Covington Masvidal.
Based on the fact that you have 2 title fights, you'd have to say yes. But I don't think this is a very stacked card when Michel Pereira is the 3rd fight, and then you got, Rodolfo Vieiras of the world, which is a good fighter, but again, not a guy that, has been on the main card a whole lot of times. Ilia Topuria is a top prospect, but not exactly a well-known name.
I hear you. Okay, wait. We're jumping ahead a little bit.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
The card is not super deep, even though it is top heavy.
Oh, I think that's fair. But first, we gotta quickly recap and review Calvin Kattar defeating Giga Chikadze in an amazing 5-round unanimous decision, an incredibly dominant performance, 50-45, 50-45, 50-44. We both got this dead wrong. I got this dead wrong, Fight Geek. I didn't see this coming at all. What was your takeaway from this incredible performance?
Well, my first takeaway is Kattar is extremely smart for taking an extended layoff and really kind of giving himself time to heal after that Max Holloway fight.
Yep.
I think guys make mistakes a lot with quick turnarounds after taking too much damage, and it leaves a lasting impression. But Kattar really looked fresh and sharp, which is rare for a guy coming off a beating like that. So that was my first takeaway, and was super impressed with his preparation, game plan.
What'd you make of Giga?
Well, this is the first time Giga had really been against a guy who is, top 5 quality, close to his prime. I mean,
he beat Barboza last fight by stoppage in a fight.
Yeah, Barboza's up there in age on his second weight class, and I think has double-digit losses in his career. So, I mean, it's not, at
fair.
This point,
yeah.
I'm not saying that's the most elite win. The other big wins he has is a Cub Swanson win, which, I love Cub Swanson as much as the next guy, but it's not really a great gauge of where you are in the title picture. So this was really kind of his first step up against a guy we could quantify as a contender. I think it's clear that Calvin Kattar is probably the 4th or 5th best guy in that division. Clearly,
at least, Fight Geek. Are you kidding?
Well, that's what I mean. He's the 5th best guy at minimum in that division. I think you just saw experience come through. Giga had not ever been tested that way. We had just seen Kattar tested that way in his last fight, and I think that experience really shone through,
Yeah, I mean, this is now – is Max Holloway – it's like losing to Max Holloway, does that let you level up? Because first Brian Ortega levels up after that beat down against Max. Now Calvin Kattar's leveled up seemingly.
I think absolutely, and I think it just goes back to the experience. It's like – you don't know what you don't know, so these guys that have never experienced that get introduced to it, and then they get to go back with their teams. They get to analyze what happened in this new phase of, experience, which is rounds they've never been in, being on the backside of taking a beating and things like that. So then they're really able to hone their craft around the mistakes they've made rather than always just, being 15-0 or whatever Ortega's case was, where, he had some adversity in his fights, but, for a long time, you're an undefeated fighter getting finishes. You don't know what you don't know. So
okay.
I think it comes back to that. I think the experience really helped.
Okay, let me finish with this last question. Calvin Kattar and Giga Chikadze, I want you to tell me, how far is each one going to go? Who's going to ultimately get further in the featherweight division in the UFC?
I mean, I don't see either of them winning a title, so to me...
Will they both make title fights?
No.
Will either make a title fight?
Giga may make one later on after he regroups, but I still don't see either of them as big title.
Whoa, the Calvin Kattar disrespect. Whoa, I disagree.
Well, this is just a one fight. He's not even on a winning streak. This is one fight. It's coming off of a loss to an elite contender.
He beat Chikadze 50-45.
Chikadze was not a contender yet. He was trying to make his name as a contender. So I think Kattar has to, probably win 2 more fights in the top 5 or 6 to really be considered a title contender.
What I loved about the fight, real quick, not to get too much into the weeds here, because I know that's boring to the listeners, but what'd you think of Calvin Kattar's game plan? I thought it was so brilliant, just sort of rushing the pocket, staying in the
Absolutely.
pocket, because Giga clearly needs a little bit of space to really be at his striking best, right? And
Absolutely.
that was
and
robbed.
he throws that Giga kick, which
Yup.
was a big load-up kick that once he was tired, he was having a hard time getting off as efficiently.
Exactly.
And Kattar kept staying in his face with the jab. His boxing is very good, and I think his jab and staying in front of him and staying close to him and just keeping his hands on him and his elbows on him really pushed Chikadze out of his comfort zone, not able to get off those big, powerful kicks. And by the late second round, I want to say, he was so labored that he had pretty much kind of abandoned. He was still throwing kicks and high kicks, but you could see that they weren't quite the devastating Giga kicks we had seen previously.
Oh, he got totally – Chikadze got totally exhausted by Calvin Kattar's grappling, I thought, in the first round.
For sure, but also the forward pressure.
The forward pressure, the grappling, it completely overwhelmed Chikadze. You could tell he wasn't expecting it at all. Okay, so my final answer, by the way, I think that Chikadze is not going to make a title fight. I do think Calvin Kattar will fight for the belt. I don't think he'll become a champ, but I think he could get close for sure. Was there
definitely an all-action fighter?
Absolutely. Was there anything else we wanted to cover on this card? I'm not going to front. The card was not the best. Also, I did go to a friend's birthday party that night, so I only saw a few of the fights the next morning.
All right. Well, I mean, Brandon Royval had a tough victory over
he did. I did see that. Rogerio Bontoran, exactly.
So that was impressive. I like Brandon Royval. He wasn't real happy with his performance, but that guy's all action all the time, too. So
he's all heart, too. He's got a lot of fight in him.
Just seeing if there's anything else that jumped out.
It really wasn't a great card, guys. I'm not
Ryan Kelleher, Court McGee both got victories, a couple veterans. Bill Algeo had a fun fight.
Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, other than that, Caitlin Chikagian had another win, keeps her kind of in that number 2 limbo. Don't ever see her as a title holder, but she sure beats everybody else.
So what's interesting about, let's talk about her before we move on really quick. So Caitlin, after the fight, said that she had actually run out her UFC contract and was on, she hoped to get re-signed but wasn't sure. And now, after they've announced Miesha Tate versus Lauren Murphy at 125, Caitlin Chookagian started talking some trash to Miesha, which I thought was probably pretty smart.
Absolutely. I mean, Caitlin versus Miesha, if Miesha wins, that could be a fight night headliner on a really.
I mean, that can be a number 1 contender fight, right?
No, that's a solid name fight,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, to me, I think Miesha Tate, as long as she doesn't go on like a 3 or 4 fight losing streak, I mean, she's a fan favorite. She's always going to draw attention.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so with that, are we ready to move on to our preview and picks for UFC 270?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So just trying to see where we start here. You can let me know if you're upset here, but I was going to start with Trevin Giles versus Michael Morales, late into the prelims.
Well, since you're so gung-ho, I'll let you kick it off. What do you think?
So this is actually a great fight. So this is a welterweight bout. We've got Trevin Giles, 14-3, against the undefeated Michael Morales, 12-0. And I think that Morales, I've seen him a little bit on the sort of more junior scene, the regional scene, excuse me, and he's a dangerous fighter. He's obviously never fought anyone of the caliber of Trevin, but I've got Michael Morales winning a unanimous decision.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Just looking at some of the measurables, he has a 79-inch reach, which is 5 inches longer than Trevin Giles. Athletic guy. I'm actually going to roll with you. I'm going to take Morales by decision here.
All right. Okay, so moving on. We have got Raoni Barcelos, 16-2 from Brazil, versus Victor Henry, American, 21-5. This is a bantamweight bout. Who you got?
Going with Barcelos here, personally. He's a tough guy. been a fan of him. Yeah, I just think that he'll get this done.
I got Barcelos as well, so that's a little boring. All right, moving on to our main final fight of the prelims, and boy, is this is a great fight. I think this fight's getting a little slept on. This is
absolutely
Charles Jourdain versus the undefeated Georgian Ilia Topuria for this is a featherweight fight. Who you got?
Yeah, I love this fight. Great
so
fight
good.
on paper.
It's not getting
Should be
talked
all
about.
action. I'm actually taking Ilia Topuria. I just think that Charles Jourdain gets hit a little too much, and Topuria hits very hard and very clean. And I'm taking Topuria via stoppage here.
I got Topuria via second round TKO. Guys, he's a problem, and he's undefeated for a reason, okay? I mean, Charles Jourdain, all the respect in the world, but I got Ilia Topuria again via stoppage second round. Okay, moving on to the main card. We've got Rodolfo Vieta versus Wellington Turman at middleweight to start off the main card. I'll go first. I've got Rodolfo Vieta via unanimous decision.
Yep, I've got Rodolfo Vieira via second round submission.
Got it. Okay. All right. I like it. Moving on. We've got a fun bantamweight bout. Said Nurmagomedov, 14-2 versus Cody Stamann.
Yes, this
Stamann.
is a tough one to pick.
Is it it might be Stamann. Yeah.
But I think Nurmagomedov gets this one done in a unanimous decision.
I've got Nurmagomedov versus second round submission.
Wow, we're agreeing on everything tonight.
Hey, guys, we don't plan this. That's how we keep it fun. So sometimes this happens. Anyways, next fight, we've got Andre Fiorio versus Michel Pejera. Welterweight bout. Why don't you start us off?
Yep, I've really liked Pereira's in his last couple performances. It seems like he's toned it down a touch and tried to fight a little smarter. Wins over Nico Price, Chaos Williams. So I'm gonna roll with Pereira right here.
Damn it. Okay, damn it. Yeah, me too. Okay, sorry guys. This is rare. Wow, we are really agreeing too much. All right. Luckily, we are on to the two title fights, and now I'm real excited because these are money. First, we've got Brandon Moreno versus Davison Figueiredo 3. Do you want me to go first? I'm gonna go first.
I'll go ahead and go first here. I think that going to be a very tense fight early. Obviously, Figueiredo has a lot on the line, but I think that over the two fights, over time, you've seen that Moreno is just has a style that's able to handle Figgy, and I think he'll do the same here. I think it'll be nip and tuck, and I think Moreno wins a unanimous decision.
Ha! Okay, you fell into my trap. I knew you were going to say that. I had a feeling, because you love Brandon Moreno. You always have. You're a very loyal.
That I do.
You're a loyal Moreno fan. I have got a feeling that Davison Figueiredo is going to pull a rabbit out of his hat. Okay, guys? Look, I've seen his training with Cejudo. He's been training with Cejudo, for those that don't know. He looks like he's in the best shape of his life, and he knows how important this fight is for both of them. I've got Figgy via ready, 4th round TKO.
Well, hopefully he worked on that cardio.
All right. Well,
but yeah, it's going to be a great fight. What's interesting about this fight is that if Figueiredo wins, it's a 1-1-1 trilogy and could technically be a 4th fight for a title.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit like the Woodley-Thompson series, and where, the first fight was a draw, but Woodley retained, so they kind of viewed it as a Woodley W. I mean, I feel like Figgy would be up 2-1 subconsciously.
See, I don't agree because Brandon Moreno won the second half of that fight in the draw and was coming on and then dominated the second fight. So it's like Moreno had been trending up in the first fight and dominated the second fight. So I wouldn't see it that way.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, I mean that's fair. Look, they're both amazing fighters. I think we can both agree that they've both brought incredible energy and excitement to flyweight. So I'm fine with the 4th fight. That's just
absolutely.
Me. Yeah. Okay. So moving on to the main event of the evening, Francis Ngannou versus the undefeated 10-0 interim champion Cyril Gane. I will start us off. This is I've seen a lot of people being all over the place with the picks. Luke Thomas has picked Cyril Gane. Love or hate Luke Thomas, I respect him a lot. He thinks Gane's going to win this one for sure. I'm taking Francis Ngannou via second round knockout.
Yeah, this is one I could sit and just go back and forth with all day, honestly. I really think that Gane has the ability to give Francis problems, especially if he gets it into later second round and on with his movement. But
Yep.
I just think that Francis's power, he just needs to get there one time. And the improvements he showed versus Stipe with the takedown defense, and then actually the stoppage of Stipe. It was Stipe who kind of hurt Francis and made the mistake of rushing in, and Francis actually capitalized on Stipe's mistake. So there was much more technical application in his win of Stipe than in some of his previous knockouts.
Yep.
For that reason, I think that Francis will be ready, and he'll find that button at least one time in the first 3 rounds and knock him out.
Perfect. All right, I love it. A lot of people who are listening right now are going to be disagreeing with us, Fikey, because it's like 50-50 split on the
Well, like I said, I can make a case both ways. You could technically see
I can see Gane winning. Let me come out and say it for
dancing
sure.
around Francis, frustrating him,
Absolutely.
wearing him out, and then just touching him late in rounds. But I think
absolutely.
that Francis knows what's on the line here. He's beefing with the UFC. He's on the last fight of his deal, I believe. He's in a crossroads where if he loses his belt right here, I think it's going to be detrimental to his career, and I don't think he's going to let that happen.
So let me ask you this question. I wrote on Twitter a few days ago, I said, it doesn't matter who wins the fight on Ngannou versus Gane. John Jones will not fight either of them because he's just not going to believe that he can win, and he's going to make up some lie about, they're not paying me fairly, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, he won't say he's scared, but I think he's straight up not gonna agree to fight either one. Am I being unreasonable?
No, I don't think we see John Jones fight either one of these guys either.
Okay, so you agree, because everyone wants that fight. So you agree with me that Jones will once again refuse to fight?
Well, I'm sure Jones is still working on some personal issues at least.
He'll be working on those the rest of his life. What are we talking about here?
Yeah. So, to me, I'm not convinced we ever see John back, I just really am not.
I don't see him beating Gane or Ngannou, first of all.
And I don't see him fighting soon either, I just don't. But yeah. I could be wrong. But yeah, I don't see. I think.
So you think? Who do you think? Okay, so
I think Cyril Gane would be a more appealing matchup for his chances. Clearly,
the truth is, I think that Jones matches up very, very uniquely poorly with both fighters. Like I would favor Gane over Jones, and I definitely favor Ngannou over Jones. But I'd favor Cyril too.
Yeah, I would favor Cyril right now because I've never seen John at heavyweight. But we have to remember Gane is just a 10-0 fighter, I believe. He's very raw.
Yeah, true.
He's very raw, especially in MMA. I know he has, other combat background, but when it comes to MMA, you're talking about a guy like John Jones, who's like a PhD level fighter in the UFC. He's one of the best game planners of all time. He won his last handful of fights off, basically game planning. So, yeah, I think it would be a tough matchup for a guy with 10 fights to go in there versus a guy who is that experienced. But then again, we don't know what John's body looks like, 3 rounds into a heavyweight fight that we've never seen him in. So the variables there are countless.
Absolutely. Any thoughts on the fact that Stipe Miocic, who is, I'm sure you'll agree, is the heavyweight GOAT, certainly the UFC heavyweight GOAT, is being viewed as, not even an afterthought, basically invisible when he's 1-1 with the defending champ in Ngannou, and he's never fought Cyril Gane? Is that crazy?
It's a little bizarre, but you have to understand, Stipe is older. He basically has a full.
But he was the champ one fight again. One fight ago.
Well, that's fine. But now, what does he have? A 4 or 5 year old daughter. He still has a full-time job. He's like 38 or 39. He had a long title run. He beat, DC in the trilogy. I mean, Stipe probably has a sense of accomplishment in his life that he's not really bugging them for, quick turnarounds. If the right fight comes along, I think you'll see Stipe. But the UFC and Stipe never had the greatest relationship. So I think this is just status quo for an older champion who's not going to take anything other than a title fight or a super fight. And those aren't available right now because we've known for months now that it's gone in Ngannou next, and then John's hovering around. So I think he's just biding his time. I don't think it's that strange.
Okay. Very fair, very fair. Well, I don't want to go into any more detail about that just because we have a listener question that basically nails that on the head. So,
awesome.
Having said that, are we ready to take a really quick break and be back with listener questions and more?
Let's do it.
All right, guys, we'll be right back after this. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude letting you know that this episode of the Split Decision Podcast is brought to you by TotalAggressionClothing.com. Visit www.TotalAggressionClothing.com and use the promo code 46210 to receive a special Split Podcast discount on all Total Aggression hats, shirts, hoodies, and more. Again, that's www.TotalAggressionClothing.com with promo code 46210. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 122, here with my brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek, and now it is time for my favorite section of the show, and that is Listener Questions!
All right,
I was going a little too Eddie Vedder, a little too Pearl Jam there, but that's all right.
It was all right.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Throwback.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So first question comes from Split Podcast OG Eduardo. That's at Landa Crew. LANDACREW. Landa Crew. He says, with the pay-per-view price hikes, will you guys look for alternative ways of watching UFC pay-per-views going forward? Hashtag AskSplitPod.
Alternative ways like Bitcoin or what?
No, I mean, I think he means like.
I know, I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say, can you watch through Bitcoin?
Sure, somewhere, somehow.
Somehow, yeah.
Will I look for alternative ways? Probably not. I'm just lazy and will just pay the extra $10 for convenience. But I am a little discouraged that the UFC is now $75 per.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna pay it as well because of laziness and my also because let's be honest, these links are just like the links can blow up like mid-fight. That's happened to me too many times. And yeah.
And I'm actually getting too old to like want to stare at my phone for 3 hours.
Right.
I'm just like I'd rather pay $10 and have it on the big screen.
Oh God, why'd you have to put it that way? Because now I relate to you and feel old. Oh no. Yeah. I
can't watch 4 hours straight on my phone. It's just a little too much.
Yeah, but they really are getting a little close to the sun with their cuteness. With the seven, it was $55 a few years ago. Now it's $20 more. Like that's a big deal. So
yeah, it's a big deal, especially because what are they going to have this year? 20 pay-per-views?
I don't know, but yeah, they got it. I don't know. I'm not happy about it, but yes, to answer Eduardo's question, Eduardo, yeah, I'm going to pay, and so is Fight Geek. Like nerds that are addicted like we are.
Exactly.
Okay, this next question comes from Zan Bando, great MMA journalist. Give him a follow, guys. Oh, he brought two questions. He says, number one, is Calvin Kattar next in line for a title shot after his win Saturday? I mean after Max, he says. Then, number two, will there be an immediate rematch if Gane gets past Ngannou? So let's tackle that second question first. Will there be an immediate rematch if Gane gets past Ngannou? I don't think so, but Fikey, what do you think?
I mean, it really depends on how it plays out, but highly unlikely.
I think Ngannou, I mean, unless I'm misunderstanding, I'm pretty sure this is the last fight of his contract. So I think Ngannou would almost certainly, you know, we didn't get into it in this episode, and I don't really want to because I think it's so boring, but obviously Dana White and Francis Ngannou are not on good terms right now, contractually. That's been very clear. So yes. I'm pretty sure Ngannou will leave the UFC if he loses his fight.
I would imagine that's the case, which is bizarre.
Very bizarre.
I think he might leave even if he's the champion.
I don't think he can. Isn't there a champion clause?
That I don't know about.
So I saw Ariel Helwani tweeting about that the other day, but I'm pretty sure there's a clause that might prevent him from being able to do that if he wins.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. But I believe a champion clause would keep Ngannou if he beats Surreal. But if he loses, I think. So to answer your question, Zan, in short, no, I don't think there's an immediate rematch. Either way, no way. I would almost say no way is there going to be a rematch. And then just going back to his first question, is Calvin Kattar next in line for a title shot after Max with his win on Saturday? What do you think, Fight Geek?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
think
I agree.
So.
I agree with you. I don't think quite yet. He's close, but not quite yet.
I'd love a fight with like Kattar versus Yair Rodriguez. I think that fight's amazing.
Yep, I think Kattar versus Yair Rodriguez is amazing. Kattar versus Brian Ortega is amazing. It's, you know, obviously because Holloway's injured, we do know that Korean Zombie is fighting Volkanovski for the belt at 273, which I love, and we'll talk about later.
Which means Korean Zombie wins. I would imagine Volkanovski gets an immediate rematch.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure he would. He would.
So there's a lot of question marks there. So saying Kattar can get the next shot is just too far-fetched. I agree with you. Like I said, he's 2 wins away from being considered.
What about one? No, I think he's, maybe one. Maybe one.
I don't think so, personally.
Yeah, I mean,
you have Ortega in front of him, so...
Well, he can fight Ortega next.
I don't know about that one.
It's definitely...
It's definitely a good fight, but is that a fight Brian Ortega wants to take right now?
I mean, I'm not sure. What if Brian says no, then he beats Yair? Has he earned it? That's the question. Maybe he's earned it without fighting Brian.
Earned what? A title shot without fighting Brian?
Yeah.
No, he hasn't. He just got the brakes beat off him by Max. This was his bounce back fight.
No, but I'm saying, what if he beats Yair? What if he beats Yair? What if he beats Yair, though?
Yeah, that's a fringe elite win because Yair's coming off a loss and has never challenged for a title. So that's not quite a true number. The Ortega fight would be the best case for like a number 1 contender fight.
Yeah. Okay. It's very hard to disagree here, frankly. So, yeah, I agree. I think what you're saying is correct. Okay, so next question comes from, I love this guy, the MMA philosopher that's at SmartDan51. He says, Henry Cejudo seems to want to fight, so what should happen with him? This is a great question.
What should happen with him? The problem is the division in my opinion, is the division he should come back to is held up by Aljamain Sterling. What should happen is Henry Cejudo should come fight Peter Yan for that belt.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more.
That won't happen because Yan doesn't have the full belt, and TJ has a claim to a shot, and Aljamain needs a shot, and it's going to be a whole year before they figure out, who has the unified belt. And by that time, Henry, who knows what he'll be, talking about. But today, they should be booking Henry Cejudo versus Peter Yan for the undisputed bantamweight title.
Yep, and for those that don't know, I'm sure most of you or all of you do, Henry Cejudo has been calling to fight Volkanovski at featherweight, to try and become a true triple UFC champion. Dana turned that down, so I think that's why Smart Dan 51 is asking, what should happen with Cejudo. I agree with Fight Geek that the Peter Yan fight would be amazing. It's very annoying agreeing with you so much, Fight Geek. I feel like people that are just checking out this episode, they're going to think that we always agree. No, I assure you, we mostly argue and yell at each other, guys. I promise.
True. And I know he probably doesn't want to go to 125 ever again, but
Oh, would he? I don't know if he even can.
If Brandon Moreno won the title again over Figueiredo, he'd be a bona fide UFC star champion. That's a big fight versus Cejudo. It's a Mexican versus Mexican fight. That's a big fight.
Ooh, I never even thought of that. I just want Cejudo versus Peter Yan. I just really want.
That is the fight. That's the most elite bantamweight title fight you could make right now.
Yeah. So to answer MMA philosopher, aka Smart Dan 51's question, I think the fight is Cejudo Yan. Period. Like that's the fight. That's the fight.
Absolutely. And then like I said, consolation fight would be him versus Moreno if he wins.
Yep.
You know, and you put that fight in Mexico next
Woo!
year. Ooh.
That'd be good. Okay.
Yeah.
Next question comes from our main man, Eric Bucher. That's at ATANAK74. He says, welcome back. Should Kattar's next fight be Ortega, and would this battle of the comeback kids qualify for a number one contender fight at featherweight if Holloway remains unable to fight? Great question.
Yeah, the one way Kattar gets a title fight is if he knocks Ortega out in the first round. Other than that, I just don't see him
I think you're being a little hard on Kattar, man. I've really got to say that.
Well, I mean, we just saw him lose lopsided to Max Holloway.
Everyone loses lopsided to Max Holloway, except for Volk, the champ.
Right, but in a merit-based system, he's only have one bounce-back fight versus a guy who was ranked 7th, I think, right?
I'm just saying. Are we really? We're gonna hold his feet to the fire because he lost to Max Holloway? Like,
I'm just gonna say,
isn't that everyone?
Numerically, it doesn't make sense for him to fight one guy who's ranked 7th, I believe. I don't know if you can confirm that or not, but to beat the 7th guy.
Mm-hmm. Don't you guys love Fight Geek's little condescension, his little hidden condescension?
To beat the 7th guy in the division and then beat, Brian Ortega coming off of a massive title loss, I just don't think
he's coming off a massive loss, like you said. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, he's coming off a loss. He needs a big win. And I feel like Calvin Kattar, if he beats up Ortega or Yair, I guess I'm saying if he beats up Ortega or Yair, I think that he's getting that title shot after Holloway.
And see, I'm saying he would need another win on top of that, in my opinion. I don't think he's getting a title shot off 2 wins versus guys, who've shown not to be. I mean, Yair's he's not a title contender, unfortunately. You know what I mean?
Well, I was gonna say, who would get it, like, besides Calvin Kattar, frankly, except for Max Holloway? Who would?
Well, we just saw the Korean Zombie on a 1-fight winning streak.
Well, the Korean Zombie's fighting Volk at 272. That's
what I'm saying. So who knows whenever that happens? Because 2 weeks ago, we would have never imagined that the Korean Zombie was getting a title.
Yeah, excuse me, I did misspeak. Korean Zombie's fighting Volk at 273. But yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, can Kattar come in on short notice and steal a title fight? Yeah, that's a different story.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. So, final question, I think, at least on my end, comes from the man, Jay Harvey. Love this dude. Love his Keanu Reeves AV. It's just kind of awesome. This is at Twig1981, guys. Give him a follow if you can. At Twig1981. He says, with the dramas surrounding Nunes's gym and training, she may not be ready for 6 months, and Pena seems to be okay to wait. Do you guys think she's better off doing that or getting a title defense in first? I believe she should not wait. #AskSplitPod. This is a really interesting question. Start us off.
It is, and I think there's 2 trains of thought here. First of all, the drama surrounding Nunes in her advanced age, coming off a title loss and all that, it's not trending in a positive direction.
And by the way, it's worth mentioning, it's very relevant. Kayla Harrison did not decide to go to the UFC, if I'm correct, right? I mean,
I think it's
that may not be official
in
actually.
The air, but I think PFL's the favorite to re-sign her.
Yeah, actually, you know what, guys? I apologize. I thought that was official, and it's not. But as of this recording, Kayla's very strongly favored to be re-signing with the PFL.
Yeah. So, should she be ready in 6 months? No, I think Nunes should wait till the end of the year. Maybe 9 months, really get into great shape, take it seriously. I mean, it's so hard to really gauge what's going on behind the scenes, but, there's already been rumblings that she didn't take Pena that serious and stuff like that. I don't know if that's just, Monday morning quarterback stuff because she lost, but it would seem that she didn't. So I think taking as much time, as she needs, 9 months, a full hardy camp, get in the best shape she can possibly be in, clear the cobwebs and come back strong, makes all the sense in the world. I wouldn't rush right back.
All right, here's my question to you. So let's just assume that Juliana Pena waits, right? They make Pena Nunes to sometime late in 2022. Am I crazy, Fight Geek, I'm definitely thinking, especially if it's like, if Pena is in any way an underdog of any type, I think that's really smart money to put on Juliana Pena. Am I crazy?
No, well, I mean, we just saw her win, so if she's a dog, I think...
The point is, I think she's getting slept on in the rematch. I think she's going to do it again.
Yeah, the styles make fights, and she definitely, proved to have a style that gave Nunes problems. The thing is that was not, the Amanda Nunes' best night, so it leaves us with a lot of questions. But was it not her best night because she's aging, or is it not her best night because she took her lightly? So I think it's a mixture of both.
Juliana also took some hard shots, by the way. We cannot.
Well, yeah, she's not. But I mean, Juliana was in the best shape of her life. If you look at the pictures, Juliana Pena was absolutely shredded that night.
Yeah.
And Nunes was. She was in the best shape she'd been in a while, but you could tell obviously her cardio went quick in that second round. So. Yeah, do I think Pena's live and has a chance to do it again? Absolutely. Definitely on the back of, did she think she can do it? She knows she can do it. She believes she can do it. I mean, all of that going in her favor really helps. That's going to be a crazy rematch. I don't see Pena going down early. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a dogfight where she would have a chance to win again.
Absolutely. Okay. So,
one more part of that question.
Go ahead.
I don't think she should have a 145 title defense before that fight. I think her full attention should be Pena, if that's what he's asking.
Or you mean I'm sorry. I think he was asking about, should Pena get a title defense in before Amanda too?
Well, Pena absolutely should not. She has
right. That's what I thought you were saying.
Female history waiting for her. So no.
And I agree with you, right? I mean, think about it, right? It would make no sense to not wait for Nunes because that's too big of a money fight.
Yeah, imagine Pena losing to Rocky Pennington and ruining the biggest rematch of all time.
And by the way, I mean, I'm not to be negative on Juliana, but let's just say Juliana loses the second fight against Nunes. Couldn't she arguably ask for a trilogy? I mean,
she would 100% get a trilogy at that point. But we just saw her get put to sleep by Germaine Durandamy. So a title.
You think she would get a trilogy, right? You think she would?
Say again.
Yeah. So if Juliana lost to Amanda in the rematch, you think she'd get the trilogy fight?
Absolutely.
So yeah, exactly. She'd be crazy to not do the rematch immediately.
She's
then
playing with fire to do anything other than fight Pena for.
Or fight Nunes, yeah. I hear what you're saying. Fight Nunes.
Oh, yeah. For the rest of her career, I mean.
Right.
Just write it out on those fights, and then maybe if she wants to fight another name, but which there's not really any more names, but.
Yep. Totally agree.
So, yeah, big time fight. Can't wait to see that. Think Nunes, everybody gets old. She might be going that way.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay, so with that, do we have any more questions, or is that it?
Nope, that does it for the first episode of the year.
All right, first episode of 2022 with Fight Geek. And remember, guys, Fight Geek Jr. Fight Geek is now a dad. Congratulations again, Fight Geek.
Appreciate it, man.
Of course. All right, so take it away, Fight Geek.
Awesome. All right, guys. As usual, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, and more. I'm at the Fight Geek MMA. He's at Phil the MMA Dude. We are at Split_podcast. It's 4 words, the Split Decision Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week. Peace.
Peace.